What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are discussing the book of Boba Fett, and I wanted to make this as a more full-length review rather than a YouTube short, just because I've got a lot of thoughts and things to say on the topic. Got to my own baby rancor here now. But I think my thoughts on the show are very much in line with most of the fans, in that I really don't think this show lived up to the potential that it could have had. And on a side note, I really don't like those people in YouTube comments who sort of say stuff like, can't we just appreciate what we did get?
Look at them, so blissfully ignorant.
Accepting the mediocrity that we get given isn't going to get us anywhere. So I think criticising media is fundamental in this age of, mass production and overabundance of content, because it means that we'll hold things to a higher standard. And the Book of Boba Fett really didn't live up to a high standard.
Kids got it all figured out.
And the first point that I want to make about this show is that the hype around seeing Boba Fett in live action after 40 years always felt a bit misplaced to me, because Boba Fett in the original trilogy was never a character. He was a cool costume, but that was it. He was just this cool looking badass who was mysterious, elusive, kind of wore this armour that alluded to a new lore and a new planet, but there was no insight into his character. So unless you've seen, obviously Attack of the Clones, but also Clone Wars, you don't really have a sense of Boba Fett's journey as a young kind of bounty hunter. So The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett really had the job of not reintroducing us to a hyped up character, but establishing a character who was so shallowly developed in the original films. And did they do that? I really don't think they did. I think the biggest problem of the show was that it never seemed to find its focus.
What?
Whether that was through diverting focus to, other in-universe characters and stories, or not being able to find the balance between kind of flashbacks and present-day events going on. The show as a whole just really struggled to find its through line, which should have been Boba Fett's character. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the Mandalorian episode. I really enjoyed the episode with Luke and Grogu and Ahsoka. And I did enjoy the finale for what it was. I just think that in the broader context of a 7-episode show, they did more damage to Boba Fett than the kind of value that they offered as standalone things. I don't know why Mando's return couldn't have just been saved for the finale, and come in at the 11th hour as some sort of avenging angel and teamed up with Boba Fett then. His little mini arc with reuniting with Grogu and reuniting with Paz Vizsla and the kind of other Mandalorians, that very much should have been a Mandalorian season 3 kind of arc. And then him appearing in the finale might have been even more satisfying because we hadn't seen him yet. And it also meant that the kind of reunion with Grogu and Grogu's decision to leave Luke just also felt quite crammed in and rushed. And even though I really enjoyed it, I couldn't help but think it would have been better placed in the Mandalorian season. The television format, this kind of long-form storytelling format, is supposed to kind of facilitate more character growth, more narrative momentum, which the show didn't provide us at all. I think it's safe to say that the flashbacks did more for Boba Fett's character than his evolution in the present, because I don't think there really was any. I enjoyed the sort of time we spent seeing his journey from the Sarlacc pit and residing with the Tuskens. It just frustrated me that I found that more engaging than the stuff that he was doing in the present, which was essentially getting beaten up by a Wookiee and getting harassed by some emo teenagers on mobility scooters. Characters in this show felt very threadbare. Fennec Shand really didn't get anything to do in this show and was a real waste of Ming-Na Wen's talents. I don't think Boba Fett got anything to do. Mos Espa really felt like a small place, particularly in the finale when you've just got a very small group of citizens banding together to help the fight. It never felt like the kind of stakes were high. The city never felt populated enough. And the places we visited never felt varied enough for this setting to really feel like it was big enough for Boba Fett to kind of contend with. I did like the Wookiee Chrysanthemum. I thought he was a good little addition to the cast. Cad Bane stole the show for me. I was very annoyed to see him go, if he is dead. But as a massive Clone Wars fan, seeing Cad Bane was such a treat. And I wish he'd been in it from episode 1. Again, that confrontation could have been so much more powerful. Like the Pikes, if they'd introduced them early on and kind of fleshed out the kind of political power struggles going on in Mos Espa between them and Boba Fett from the very start, We could have had a more evolved kind of political scene, and the dramatic stakes could have been that much higher going into the finale episode. That Twi'lek spokesman character got way too much screen time. I really thought Boba Fett was sending him out to get killed in the finale.
Unfortunately for you, history will not see it that way.
But he wasn't, unfortunately. And I was quite let down by a lot of the action in this show, particularly in that very first episode when Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are surrounded by guards and Boba Fett doesn't just jetpack out the middle of them. That was the first red flag. Then we had that horrendously slow speeder bike chase, and then we had Boba Fett just getting thrown around and beaten up by the Wookiee.
Weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all.
But things I did like. As always with Disney Plus shows, the production value kind of saves it. I loved the in-universe tie-ins. I loved the Clone Wars returns of Ahsoka and the introduction of Cad Bane live action. I loved Luke and Grogu and Mando, even though I felt the attention given to them was a tad unnecessary in this program. And I did love Boba Fett in the finale when he got to kick ass, which they didn't let him do up until that point. And as always, Ludwig Göransson gives us a fantastic score. I loved the main theme for Boba Fett and all the concept art you see in the credits. There was really a lot of devotion and passion that went into this show. It just didn't go into the storytelling element of it. And if they'd spent more time on the world building and working out the kind of character growth and the character arc that they wanted Boba Fett to have, as well as other characters, because no one in this show really got any character development, then the personal stakes of the characters and the political stakes of the Mos Espa storyline could have gelled together a bit more. It did pick up the pace in the final few episodes, but again, the reason for that wasn't Boba Fett, unfortunately. And I feel that Temuera Morrison was a bit shortchanged with this show. So hopefully going forward they'll have a better sense of who they want Boba Fett to be, where they want him to start and where they want him to end, and be able to build the episodes around that character, which they definitely did not do with this show. And I say this as a diehard fan of Star Wars because I love this universe and I love these characters and I want to see justice done to them.
The greatest teacher, failure is.